Hello and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have LJ all the way from sunny Bangkok, and she's actually British but moved over there and has a fantastic business as well. Very interesting, doing online, working online and offline as well. She's a therapist and involved in helping families. So, LJ, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Lovely. Thank you for having me here today. So, I am a therapist, author, and specialize in parenting and, as you say, family dynamics. I've been in the field for over 10 years. I moved from the UK to Bangkok. And yeah, there's a strong focus on working with families for the overall betterment of everyone involved. And my upcoming book is out in March, which is a collaboration and accumulation of all of that work.
Absolutely, yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit, like, what inspired you to get into therapy?
I think I've always known I was an empath. I've always had a strong urge to help other people. So I was quite young when I initially began studying it. But it's more now crystal clear that I can kind of look back and be like, okay, that was always supposed to be my niche. To do something that I wholeheartedly enjoy whilst helping other people to become the best versions of themselves is amazing for me.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, yeah, that's great. So, you've been doing it for some time. So, can you tell us, like, how this change? Especially you being an entrepreneur and a business owner, like, how this changed from going from Britain to Bangkok to Thailand. Like, how did you move there?
So, since traveling Asia, it was always a dream of mine, probably for around 10 years, to live in Asia. I just loved the culture, loved the way of life, the people. I ended up in Beijing for 1 year through the pandemic, but because of difficulties of being in China in the pandemic, the borders were closed. I moved on to Thailand, and it's been since being here actually that it's evolved. I think bigger and better than what I could have anticipated. So it is a really great place to be in business. There's a lot of fascinating and diverse characters who are seeking services. And yeah, it's a really cosmopolitan city in Bangkok. So there's always new people coming and going. And yeah, your business can thrive here, I suppose, especially in wellness. A lot of people are really into it.
Wonderful. And yeah, so what are the typical problems or challenges your clients are facing when they see you?
Oh, $1 million question. So honestly, there's different variables, cultural aspects play into that because I've got clients in the Middle East, in the UK, in Southeast Asia. So some of it is generational trauma, and parents actually, which is what my book is about, they want help how to show up differently for their own children compared to how they might have been disciplined, etc. Some people are more work burnout, they're over here having a great life but they work really long hours or really intense, so I can help them to feel confident and, I guess, help them to show up in the world feeling stronger but lighter is what I like to say. Yeah, and then obviously you've got people who's been through a lot of trauma and deeper healing and so on.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. And you mentioned your book. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that, please?
I can gladly, thank you. My book is going to be released in March 2026, and it is similar to what I was talking about with parenting. So it's going to be a 9 chapter guide for parents to, first of all, heal their own childhood trauma and identify blind spots in, their story and how that's showing up in their parenting, so that essentially they can become the parent that they needed and they would have liked to have had growing up. So it's by no means being, derogatory about the parenting, but I think we can all collectively agree, and even globally, we collectively agree that we're just in a different era now and we need to move with the times and do things differently. So yeah, them kind of workshops that I do on similar topics are very well received here in Asia. So I thought, why not follow it up with a book and accumulate everything?
Oh, very nice. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, can you tell us a little bit more about this trauma? Because, especially as I mentioned, our podcast is called open book entrepreneur, and I see this and I experience this myself as well. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, they have certain like blockages at certain points when it comes to the growth of the business or expansion or starting the business or something else. And a lot of times I can see like it's connected to some kind of trauma, either childhood trauma or some other kind of trauma. So can you just tell us how you see this affecting people, and how your book can actually help them with this?
Really great question, actually, because you're totally right. Childhood trauma, people imagine it to be the most catastrophic things that people endure, but childhood trauma can develop through even smaller issues, even a parent who was unfortunately having to work too much, or divorce, or, all these different things. It doesn't have to be something really, really huge, but that does play into our psyche and into our blueprint and how we show up in the world as an adult. So when you relate that to business, look, a business is only going to grow at the speed or at the success that the director is willing to grow. So in that is eliminating poor choices or
Hmm.
self-sabotaging choices, energy that we choose. So you can have all the great tools or all the great mindsets and knowledge that you want to be a successful business person, but if you're still making poor choices and habits, or you're still around negative energy and you don't change that actively, then as you said, it's blockages and it is going to impact your business.
Yeah, totally. And how do you relate that to, for example, childhood trauma?
So with childhood trauma, it can manifest in many different ways. So with when I say self-sabotaging behaviors, obviously people might do self-soothing, as we say in therapy, through addiction, and where people might not even think it's addiction, but drinking too heavily, substances, choice of partners, financial habits. Some people express themselves through dietary habits. So again, like, we don't realize that there's these more subtle ways that trauma is showing up in our adult behaviors. We usually link it to the bigger ones like addiction, or an unpleasant home, domestics, but it's in everything. So when you dig deeper and you commit to the inner work and you decide to revisit your childhood, you will start connecting the dots that the choices in friendships, choices in romantic partners, choices in food, it's all connected to our blueprint that was formed in the first 5 years of life. And essentially, that is obviously going to show up in your business choices.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah,
Fascinating stuff, right?
definitely, definitely. Okay, so what would you suggest? Obviously, number of people watching us, listening to us, they'll have some of these blockages that they're experiencing and stuff. What would you suggest? How they can address them?
Obviously therapy is always a great idea, and luckily the stigma is now massively been smashed around the world on that. People are really more open to it, but there's just a lot of great books out there as well. There's online courses, even just getting mindful. Being mindful is the first step. Looking online for guided meditations. You can even toy around with words such as blockages or mindset. So it's really having the ability and the willingness to look within, because some of the greatest business people out there, or some of the people with the greatest business ideas, it can be a blockage that they're not even willing to just do the inner work. That's the first step, isn't it? I've been a therapist for over 10 years. I'm well read, I've done etc. But I still love to learn, and I'm still willing to work on myself. Even therapists will go to therapy because they're like, we can always grow. So I
Mhm.
think the first step is looking within and identifying unhelpful or toxic patterns that people are doing, patterns of self-sabotaging or poor choices, and getting really honest with themselves and figuring out, what am I doing here that's hindering myself? How am I getting in my own way? Because I think what we can kind of do as humans is look outwards. And often that is the case, is it's someone else that's doing this to me. And you can kind of get into the mindset of the world is happening to me. We have to take accountability and really show up and say, how am I blocking myself here first and foremost?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, a lot of people actually go into this victim mentality,
Yes.
and yeah, instead of actually, obviously, some people are maybe aware as well that this is happening, and that maybe they're sort of either they taking this victim mentality, or they're not even aware how to actually overcome the problem. So, what advice would you give to them?
I think definitely if someone feels that stuck, never be too proud to get help. It might not be from a therapist, it might be from a business coach or, depending on the business, social media is such a big game now, isn't it? Is it that you need a social media marketer or strategist? Is it that you need to get more into wellness? So,
Hmm.
as I said before, it's just being really open that you don't have to be in business solo. You might be a really strong person, as most people are when they go into business and strong minded, but just looking and being like, what do I need? Is it that I need another person? Do I need a few sessions of this or that? And it is really, really getting frank with yourself and taking that accountability.
Wonderful. That's great. Yeah. And if people want to actually connect to you, find out a little bit more about you, maybe find out about your book and stuff, how they can do that?
Instagram is the most common place that I can be found on there. I have got my website as well with my email and everything on there. So they're the two channels that people usually come through.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, Instagram, maybe you want to share that and I can include it in the description of this episode.
Thank you. Yeah, it's _LJ_Jones_therapist.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, definitely. I'll share the link in the description of this episode so you can all check it out and stuff. If you have any questions for LJ or me, just drop them down in the comments, and we'll be more than happy to actually respond to those. If you like the episode, drop us a like, subscribe, and also share it with your friends and family. LJ, thank you so much for being a guest, for sharing your story, the knowledge and tips, and it was great to having you on. Also amazing to see this lovely view of Bangkok in the background. Yeah, and
Thank you for having me.
yeah, you're welcome. And see you all in the next episode. All the best and bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.